People are eager to talk about what has happened to them at the hands of the Minneapolis police. Roughly 35% of the experiences that we've gathered relate to lack of service. Another 30% or so relate to excessive force, and then the rest are spread across a continuum. And so these are the things that people are talking about in the city, and these are the things that the DOJ needs to hear about. Recognize that the DOJ, for the most part, most of the members of the investigatory team live in Washington, D.C. They don't live here. They don't know what's going on here. They're not aware of all the things that are happening in this community. It's our job as a community to tell them what they need to know to do a proper investigation. And it's our job to inform that investigation with the experiences of actual people who live here.
But there are people who need to share these stories, and that's the people that we're hopefully, creating some sort of opportunity for them to come talk to us, and so, and like I said, on the south side, especially on the West Bank, we're literally just putting up as many yard signs, giving out as much literature as we can to make people feel comfortable and engaging them in conversations that at least has them thinking about this, because especially within our community, the Somali community, it being black and immigrant and Muslim, we don't have any of these sort of resources to let people know that there is an opportunity, in you being able to speak out if you've been violated by the police.
We have seen, and I have talked to individuals who have talked about the fact that for years, they have never relied on the Minneapolis Police Department. A woman shared with me that she called the police after she was assaulted, only to have the police officers show up the next day. This is the type of information that we are learning through this Department of Justice investigation, and particularly the work that the community and many of these canvassers behind me have been doing across the city. This is a system that denies us justice. This is a system that relies on compounded cover-up from every level. The greatest example that many people may reflect on now is the fact that if Derek Chauvin was stopped, so many times he committed crimes against our community, if he was stopped after he put a young person in unconscious situation by kneeling on his neck for 40 minutes, how is it that incidents like that do not surface? How do officers like Derek Chauvin still serve on the force?
We were canvassing for about a month, maybe a month and a half at most, without really any incident from police. And it feels like there was a moment, and this is based on my recollection, where that changed, where we maybe made enough of a stink that we were suddenly an item of interest in the 5th precinct and then across all precincts in the city. So that was roughly the end of August. And since then, there has been an increasing number of interactions with the police that are at minimum questionable, at most overtly antagonistic, and admittedly it can be hard to tell when we're working, because we work in places that have a lot of police patrolling, and it's not always clear whether that surveillance is directed at us or the people we are trying to talk to.
We ask the United States Department of Justice to investigate and include these patterns of conduct from law enforcement as part of their patterns and practices investigation. There was recently a report that a crime prevention specialist from the Minneapolis Police Department called for Communities United Against Police Brutality signs to be removed from the streets. These signs were next to the candidate signs. When asked for more information about what ordinance was being violated by the signs, the crime prevention specialist refused to state a reason. We will be asking the Department of Justice to investigate these allegations and complaints of tampering with canvassers and the possibility of taxpayer dollars being used to fund the spread of disinformation and harassment. Let's not forget why we are here.
I am the founder of Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. But first and foremost, and most of all, I am the fiance and the mother of Justin Tygan's now 14-year-old son. Justin Tygan was brutally beat to death by the St. Paul police here in the state of Minnesota and thrown inside of a trash dumpster August 19, 2009. I have been a part of helping to organize with this investigation of the Minneapolis police. And what our families and our community is hoping for is that the investigation spreads beyond the Minneapolis police, because we do understand that there has been almost 500 bodies that have been stolen here in the state of Minnesota at the hands of law enforcement. And we know that all of these murders did not happen at the hands of Minneapolis police alone, but we know that the investigation had to start somewhere. So we are very grateful that the DOJ is here to investigate the Minneapolis police, but what we are asking for as families, as victims, is that they spread this investigation past the Minneapolis police.